This is Stephanie Rybkowski, currently at the Berea Municipal Court in Berea, Ohio.
Mr. Rybkowski, am I saying that correctly?
Yes, you are.
Stephanie Rybkowski, aged 42, was caught shoplifting at a local Walmart, resulting in a theft conviction. Now, Rybkowski and her lawyer hope Judge Mark Comstock will decide against a jail sentence.
First of all, $150 fine plus cost if that's suspended. And then 180 days in jail. I'll credit 1 day served. However, I will start that today.
Disheartened by the 6-month jail sentence starting today, Rybkowski quickly requests the judge to reconsider her case.
Is there a way that I can not start jail today? I mean, because I've got a daughter, we've got a graduation party going on at home.
I understand that. I understand that. And we're going to stick with the recommendation at this point. So, again, you can have a seat.
Can I phone home?
Absolutely, you'll be able to use it.
Disheartened, Rybkowski starts heading back to her seat, but then, in a moment of decision, turns toward the exit. Bailiff Matthew Bedford quickly spots her move and addresses her without delay. He follows her into the hallway, where they start talking. Rybkowski takes a moment to sit down and check her phone, using this as a chance to stall. The bailiff stands by patiently, keeping an eye on her near the stairs. Acting indifferent, Rybkowski, phone in hand, walks up to the bailiff and slips by him. Seizing the opportunity, she bolts, racing down 2 flights of stairs and out the front doors with the bailiff hot on her heels. She makes it to her car, hits the bailiff with it, and then speeds. Luckily, the bailiff only suffers minor injuries from the ordeal. Finding Rybkowski, though, turns out to be difficult. It takes 11 days before she is finally caught and arrested again. She now faces extra charges for escape, assault, and resisting arrest. Despite this, her original sentence remains unchanged, with no extra jail time added. This is John White, who did something so terrible that hearing about it could upset anyone.
And a costume of a pastor.
John White, posing as a pastor, was charged with the gruesome murder of Rebecca Gay, his fiance's 24-year-old daughter. He faced serious accusations, including open murder and first-degree premeditated murder, highlighting the severity of his actions. The 55-year-old, previously convicted twice, shockingly claimed to be a pastor and admitted to second-degree murder as a repeat offender. Police reports show the horrific nature of Gay's murder, fueled by White's disturbed fantasies. He confessed to drinking before he savagely attacked Gay, hitting her with a mallet and strangling her with a zip tie. White even said he wasn't sure if he acted on his weird fantasy of assaulting her body. He then coldly disposed of her body, later dressing her young son for Halloween and leaving him with his father, hiding the ugly truth of his mother's death. White's calculated actions showed no regret, shocking even his small church community of 14 members. Donna Houghton, the church elder who had supported hiring White, was stunned by the news. Despite a past marked by violence, including a 1981 attack on a 17-year-old girl for which he got probation, White had seemed to reform. Before his sentencing, Gay's mother spoke in court, emphasizing his complete lack of remorse.
Is not capable of feeling love or remorse. Your choices have made you what you are. Anyone who can scheme, plan, and carry out such a horrible act deserves to spend the rest of their life in jail.
White's lack of remorse throughout the investigation wasn't surprising, especially since he had previously tried to avoid responsibility by claiming insanity. Consequently, he received a long prison sentence of 56 years. But the darkness inside him became too much, and only a few months into his sentence, White ended his own life, taking the coward's way out. This is William Terry, now at the Cuyahoga County Justice Center, where a sentencing hearing is wrapping up.
Thank you all. Good luck to you, Mr. Terry. Thank you, Sheriff.
William Terry just received an 18-month prison sentence for attempted burglary and attempted felonious assault. In the courtroom, his family is seated behind him, while the crime victim is across the room.
Let's go. Get my family some stuff out my pocket.
He's headed directly to prison and is now talking to his family. Afterward, he plans to harshly confront the victim.
All right. It's only 18 months. You don't touch me like that.
Two court deputies try to hold back the defendant, who is already in handcuffs.
This is what's going to get. Please calm down.
Let's go, man. Give me the gun. You ready? Yeah. We gonna be calm now? Yeah. All right.
The defendant is led out of the courtroom smoothly, with no more trouble or disturbances, and no additional time is added to his sentence. This is Deborah Hunter, known as COVID Karen, a fitting nickname given her actions. Despite the clip's brief length, there's nothing pleasant about it.
You really need this? What do you want to do? Post it for you? How about that?
Deborah was shopping at the store with her daughter, but she seemed to think the mask-wearing rule didn't apply to her, possibly feeling entitled because of her Karen reputation. Upon witnessing this, someone chose to record her, and here's what unfolded.
How's that?
Oh, wow. No way.
Let's go. Well, I'm gonna kick you.
The incident was disrespectful on its own, but happening during a pandemic's peak made it far worse. Yet, what escalated it further was Deborah's choice to cough on Heather Sprague, a cancer patient already dealing with significant health vulnerabilities.
Act of coughing in my face at the height of a pandemic was an act that was calculated to attack me at my weakest point, both physically and psychologically.
Deborah was charged and ended up with a 30-day jail sentence. Below is the statement she made at her court hearing.
Consequences of what I did, my mistake, and how it affected my family and mostly my children. I mean, it's affected all of us, and my husband, but you know, the kids are the innocent ones, and I just want to make you aware of what they've gone through. I think they're continually embarrassed. They're continually chastised and mocked because of me.
Clearly, she didn't agree with the general consent. Sandra Avila Beltran, dubbed the Queen of the Pacific for her role in a Mexican drug cartel, has a fascinating criminal history, heavily influenced by her family's connections. Her relatives include Rafael Caro Quintero from the Guadalajara cartel and the Beltran Leyva brothers of the Sinaloa cartel, as per Mexican authorities. Even more, she's the niece of Miguel Angel Felix Gallardo, the so-called godfather of Mexican drug trafficking. Her family's involvement in crime began with heroin smuggling in the 1970s, later expanding to cocaine. According to DEA officials, Avila Beltran didn't shy away from using violence and intimidation, common strategies among Mexican drug gangs. In her personal life, she had relationships with notable drug lords and was twice married to ex-police officers who turned to drug trafficking and were ultimately killed.
Y se bajaron dos personas armadas. Se nos pusieron de frente y empezaron a... Inició el tiroteo. La persona que me iba siguiendo armada trató de salir corriendo para que no lo tuvieran y lo detienen cuando él trata de salir. Es como yo me salvo. Y alcancé a ver a Joel tirado en la calle, muerto.
Sandra Avila Beltran's rise in the drug trade was significantly boosted by her partnership with Juan Diego Espinosa Ramirez, also known as the Tiger, a key player in Colombia's Norte del Valle cartel. Living in Guadalajara, Jalisco, and Hermosillo, Sonora, her trajectory changed in 2001 when authorities found over 9 tons of cocaine on a ship at the Pacific port of Manzanillo, Colima, linked to her and Espinosa Ramirez. Despite her visible wealth, Avila Beltran had managed to avoid leaving any significant evidence for law enforcement. However, the situation shifted dramatically when her teenage son was kidnapped in 2002, and a ransom of $5 million was demanded. In an unexpected move, she turned to the police for help, which led to her son's release. This action, though, drew attention and sparked an investigation into her activities.
Cambiaría nunca haber conocido a los colombianos. Eso fueron los que me de ahí, de ese problema fue lo que me separó de mi hijo y es lo único que me arrepiento o que me duele.
After 4 challenging years and the intensive work of 30 federal agents, Sandra Avila Beltran was finally captured. She was charged with being part of organized crime and conspiring to traffic drugs, though some charges were eventually dismissed. She also faced detention for suspected illegal possession of weapons and money laundering as she awaited extradition to the United States. On August 10, 2012, following an extended legal fight, Avila Beltran was extradited to the United States, where she would confront the full extent of the law. Lena, a 54-year-old woman from Long Beach, California, might strike you as captivating with her floral shirt and distinctive scarf. However, looks can be misleading. Sadly, Lena often resorts to verbal abuse, especially on racial topics. She targeted someone simply out for exercise, even going as far as criticizing the individual's shirt.
Play games here anymore, okay? Next time you ever talk to me like that, you're gonna get your ass kicked by my family. They're gonna f you up.
What did I do?
Right. They're gonna f you
Why?
up.
What did I do?
Because you are an asshole. Look at the whole stairs to yourself.
You had these
Why
stairs
don't you
and
go
that
somewhere
stairs?
else where you can go to a gym? This is not just for you.
Oh, you
Get
need
the f out of this world. Get the f out of this state. Go back to whatever f Asian country you belong in.
Okay, race.
This is not your place. This is not your home. We do not want you here. You put that on Facebook. I hope you do. Because every person will beat the out of you from here on out. Don't you ever say, oh Jesus, to me when I want to use the stairs, you little bitch.
There's other stairs.
You are a sick, ignorant teenager.
Oh, thank you.
What, middle-aged woman? Who wears black in California sun? Who the wears? Are you an idiot? You wear black in California sun?
In a surprising twist, that same day, Grandma Lena didn't hold back, directing her cutting remarks at another person. Once more, it was a racist comment that ignited the confrontation.
Did you just make a racist comment?
You know what? I am not a racist person.
You just made a
But you know
racist
what?
comment.
You need to go home.
I am from here.
Look it. Go home.
I am here from here.
Go home. I don't care about your Facebook or your video.
Oh, okay. You're
Do you
making
know
a
how
racist
many
comment
people
right
can't
now?
stand you being here?
Great.
You play games. We don't play games.
Oh, what kind of game are you playing?
I play games where you get to death. You get away
Great.
from me.
So this lady
I'm calling the
just
police on
made
you.
a racist comment. I can't believe this.
You are going to go to real jail now.
Well, great. You are.
Understand me, kind of man?
I think you're going.
Understand me, kind of man? Understand me, kind of man?
Respect.
Respect.
Respect people.
Respect.
Lady.
I don't understand your language. kind of
Respect
man.
lady.
Respect. Then you move your car. You are
There you
way
go.
too close. Get away from me.
There you go. You don't even know how to park the car. You don't even know. There you go.
Do you know who my family is? Do you know who your family is? Go home to your family. This is from your government.
Respect,
Go home.
lady.
Go home.
Get
This is
educated
from my
and
government.
respect.
This is from my government.
Get
Go home. You're
educated and
so
respect.
You're gonna get Your
Get
kids are gonna get
respect.
This is my
Get
country.
educated and respect, lady. Did you?
You know what?
Did you?
You are nothing. What did you say?
You're nothing.
I said,
Exactly.
what?
You're nothing right there. Lady, get educated and respect.
After the incident, an investigation was quickly launched. However, it seemed that Lena had chosen to dodge capture and was now on the run.
Police know who she is, but they're having a hard time tracking her down, they say.
Investigators are asking for help to track down Lena Hernandez.
However, her time in hiding didn't last long. Judith Marianne Moran's life story could easily be mistaken for the script of a hard-hitting gangster film. Born on December 18, 1944, she was a key figure in the notorious Australian Moran criminal family, deeply involved in the infamous Melbourne gangland killings. Her life was a journey filled with tragedy, violence, and criminal entanglements. In 1963, she married Leslie John "Johnny" Cole, but their union was cut short when Johnny was killed in a drug-related gang conflict in Sydney in 1982, making Judith a widow. They had a son, Mark Cole, who would later take the name Mark Moran. Despite her loss, Judith moved on, starting a relationship with Louis Moran in 1966 and giving birth to their son, Jason Moran, in 1967. Their marriage ended in divorce in 1995 after facing numerous challenges. The early 2000s were especially harsh for the Moran family, with Mark Moran being murdered in 2000 and Jason Moran in 2003. To add to the the family's suffering, Louis Moran was also killed in 2004. The continuous cycle of violence and loss was devastating.
The jury in the Melbourne trial of gangland widow Judy Moran has found her guilty of organising the shooting murder of her brother-in-law Des Tuppence Moran.
The story then turned into even uglier territory. In June 2009, Judy's brother-in-law, Des Moran, was savagely killed in Ascot Vale. Following this, Judy and 3 others were detained for their involvement in the crime. She was accused of serious offenses, such as hiding the getaway vehicle in her garage and then getting rid of it. A police raid on her house reportedly revealed a hidden safe holding 3 handguns, stolen Victorian license plates, a wig, and a tire matching the eyewitness descriptions of the shooters.
Another handgun with used to be a knife aiming device.
Judy Moran's holding of weapons was viewed as a danger to the public, resulting in bail being denied. In 2011, she was convicted by a jury for the murder of Desmond Moran and sentenced to 26 years in prison, with a requirement to serve at least 21 years. Carol Clark was born in Yate, England in 1961 to Peter and Phyllis Clark, and left home at 17 to work in a Bristol hotel. Tragically, by 20, she was addicted to heroin and crack, resorting to sex work to fund her addiction, a lifestyle unknown to her family, but accepted by her boyfriend, Christopher Myler. On March 26, 1993, 32-year-old Carol left a note for Christopher saying she was heading to Bristol streets to work. Dressed in a black baseball cap, brown leather jacket, blue denim miniskirt, black polo neck jumper, and blue t-shirt, she disappeared. 2 days without contact led Christopher to worry, and on March 28th, her body was found by a dog walker, hidden under vegetation near the Gloucester and Sharpness Canal. Carol was partially clothed, with her neck seemingly broken, and her clothes from that night missing. An autopsy confirmed she was strangled and sexually assaulted, with foreign DNA evidence collected. A significant murder investigation followed, but the case remained unsolved for decades. Carol's lifestyle made identifying a suspect challenging, as she could have met multiple individuals the night she was murdered. Investigators even interviewed serial killers, including Alan Kite and Philip John Smith, but no links were found to Carol's death. The case turned cold until 2023, when Gloucestershire police reopened the investigation, leveraging preserved DNA evidence. On April 14, 2023, a 66-year-old Gloucestershire man was arrested in connection with Carol's murder, marking a significant breakthrough. Detective Chief Inspector Wayne Usher expressed determination to secure justice for Carol's family, stressing the arrest as an important part of the ongoing investigation. This is the case of Ricky Hand, who faced sentencing for several robbery offenses in Ohio.
Even 4 years. Well, guess what? Sir, what's this?
Ricky's effort to rob John's drive-thru was thwarted when the owner, armed, shot at him, wounding his arm. Following that, the owner dialed 911.
911 emergency.
Yeah, this is John's drive-thru, West Main Street. A guy just tried to rob me and he ran out the back door.
Ricky was detained at a nearby hospital and, during questioning, admitted to committing multiple robberies.
Just break into this beauty salon.
That's all I've done.
The beauty salon's a bonus because I didn't even know anything about that, and you told me that.
I'm going to prison for a long time.
Well, you know that.
In court, Ricky was convicted of multiple armed robberies and received a 40-year prison sentence.
Did you just give me 40 years? Sir? Yes.
Expecting a lighter sentence, Ricky's next actions left the entire courtroom in shock.
You just gave me 40 years. Well, guess what? Sir, what's this?
Ricky had hidden pill bottles filled with feces and urine in his arm sling. He then hurled them at his lawyer before court officers detained him. These antics led to further charges against him, including harassment with bodily fluids, obstructing justice, and retaliation. The breach left investigators puzzled, questioning how Ricky bypassed security with the fluids.
Our policy dictates that there's a search prior to and a search after he leaves, and that was very apparently not done.
Ricky's awful behavior undoubtedly resulted in a shocking moment in the courtroom. This involves the case of Elise Ortiz Nieves, who faced charges for the abuse and murder of 4-year-old Giovanni Mejias.
Well, the first count is called felony murder, life without parole. They're alleging you on Giovanni Mejias. It is called felony murder. It is a felony.
According to reports, Ortiz dialed 911, attempting to portray Giovanni's death as an accident. However, autopsy findings contradicted this claim.
The degree and the location and the number of injuries was remarkable. In my opinion, this injury is inflicted with blunt force from an adult individual.
In the courtroom, Giovanni's family members confronted Ortiz.
Yesterday was the hardest day, and instead of us celebrating, we took balloons to his grave site. And because what Nelson decided to do to my baby will never bring him back. I'll never see him grow up, fall in love, go to school.
Yet Ortiz insisted on his innocence.
I'm going to continue to say I will take a lie detector test to prove that I never abused any of Sonia's kids or never abused Giovanni and never intentionally meant to hurt Giovanni but to help him.
Giovanni's mother, Sonia Hernandez, even testified in Ortiz's defense, stating her older son frequently bullied Giovanni.
Him sock him, push him. He was just mean to him.
Did you ever witness Nelson physically discipline the kids?
Never.
However, the judge dismissed these defenses.
You can claim your innocence, but I sat over this trial and I carefully listened to all the testimony, and the jury verdict was clearly correct in this matter. There is no question whatsoever that you committed this and that you beat this little boy to death.
Just as Ortiz was set to receive his sentence, a fight erupted.
They had put cigarettes out on this poor little child. There was evidence of that from the...
Man, I ain't gonna let you, I ain't gonna let you sit here and say no crazy shit about me, man. No, man, because he's saying you don't even know, man.
Sir, anybody says anything back there, right?
Ortiz was escorted out of the courtroom and returned to conclude the sentencing. He received a life sentence without the possibility of parole.
I ever had to sit through. You are the lowest form of human life that I've been able to observe or see. You are a monster, and quite frankly, you are evil. What you did was sickening and disgusting. We're done. Take him to prison, please.
6 months later, Sonia was arrested. She pleaded guilty and was sentenced to 57 months to 10 years in prison.
Sonia was well aware. She was well aware of what was happening because she told him that was his responsibility to whoop them. I've called the cops, have been involved, CPS multiple times have been involved, the school was involved.
6 months afterward, Sonia was arrested. She entered a guilty plea and received a sentence ranging from 57 months to 10 years in prison.
My first charge is perjury. I lied under oath for a man who I thought loved and cared for me. My second is failure to protect my children and blaming a sibling on a sibling. I have to live with the fact that I failed my children. Your Honor, what you decide to give me is nothing compared to what I have been through. I wanted to apologize to my family, my children, my lawyer, and the courts. Thank you, Your Honor.
Ortiz is sentenced to spend his lifetime in prison for the murder of a child. We're looking at Kimberly Kessler, charged with the murder of her coworker in Nassau County, Florida.
Jordan Beard is Jolene Cummings' cousin.
Kessler, employed at Tangle's hair salon using an alias, had been evading capture for 25 years, with outstanding warrants in multiple states. Her criminal run ended after she was accused of fatally stabbing her coworker with scissors and supposedly disposing of the body. This image captures Kessler's post-arrest as she awaited trial.
We're on mute anyway, so I can say whatever the I want.
We're not on mute.
Oh, okay.
Overseeing her in jail presented its own set of challenges.
She began to remove feces from styrofoam trays in the back of her cell and smear it on herself on the walls. She began to throw feces at Smith, Miller, and I.
During the trial, her outburst necessitated removal to a separate room.
I refuse it. I have refused it. I refuse the public defender's office. They appointed Jolene Cummings' cousin as my public defender. What, you don't want the public to know that?
she stubbornly denied false accusations against her former public defender.
Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin! Jordan Beard is Jolene's cousin!
Subsequently, she was convicted of first-degree murder and sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Damon Kemp faces charges for the double homicide of his roommates in Daytona Beach, Florida. The case unfolded when police were summoned to probe a burglary at an apartment complex, where Kemp is said to have admitted to the killings. Initially living with the two victims, he allegedly shot them multiple times within their residence. At Kemp's bond hearing, he appeared in court and wheeled in a wheelchair.
God! 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 God!
Despite the judge's efforts to engage Kemp, he was completely disregarded.
Mr. Kemp?
God!
Damon Kemp, I'm going to conduct your first appearance.
God!
The ordeal proved too harrowing for the victims' families, forcing them to exit the courtroom. Kemp remains detained in the Volusia County Jail pending his trial. Today, Deobra Redden appeared in court for sentencing on attempted battery charges. The 30-year-old, with a reported history of criminal activities, admitted to punching a man and breaking his jaw.
3 felonies, a gross, 9 misdemeanors, multiple DVs. Got a lot going on, sir.
Yeah, I just figured like...
Battery on a protected person, robberies, attempt home invasion.
Redden engaged in a composed and straightforward conversation with Clark County District Judge Mary Kay Holthus.
Redden, is there anything you want to say on your own behalf before I pronounce sentence?
So basically, I would like to tell the courts everyone here, like, based on my criminal history, like, I feel that, like, I shouldn't be, like, sent to prison for a second time.
Have you looked at your criminal history? Have you looked at your criminal history?
I've actually just, I looked at it.
I mean, you lived it, I suppose.
I just looked at it,
yeah.
Redden associated his violent actions with mental health issues.
The reason behind every single domestic violence, I've been dealing with mental health, and I didn't know that I was dealing with mental health. And they put me in mental health court, and I still didn't know that I had a mental health problem until it was August 2022 when I realized I have a problem with this.
He further assured Judge Holthus that he had transformed.
I just figured like I'm in a better place in my mind, my mental health, I have a support system. I just got hired as a teamster for, the union, making $20 an hour. If I'm in a better place in my life, I'm not doing drugs, I'm not out there committing crimes now, and I feel like I should be given a shot because I'm in a better place than I was.
Redden's lawyer suggested probation rather than jail time, but Judge Holthus thought differently.
I think he is going to perform well on probation. I think he's worth this risk. The court wants to be 19 or 48 as suggested by the DA. I would have no issue with that, but to suspend it rather than just send him to prison for any length of time. I think it makes more sense given the circumstances and his ability to do probation successfully that he be given this opportunity.
I appreciate that, but I think it's time that he gets a taste of something else.
As she began announcing the sentence, Redden lost his composure.
The laws of the state of Nevada, this court...
A fight broke out, with multiple punches exchanged. Judge Holthus was pushed back from her chair against a wall, sustaining injuries, though she didn't need hospitalization. A courtroom marshal, on the other hand, was hospitalized with several injuries. Days following the incident, a heavily restrained Redden, wearing a spit mask, confronted Judge Holthus again.
Good morning. All right, this is on for the continuation of Mr. Redden's sentencing. When we were last here, arguments were concluded and the court had begun to pronounce sentence when an incident occurred.
Despite the attack, the judge did not alter the sentence she had initially imposed.
For purposes of the record, I want to make it clear that I am not changing or modifying the sentence I was in the process of imposing last week before I was interrupted by defendant's actions.
For his earlier offenses, Redden received a prison sentence ranging from 19 to 48 months.
For the laws of the state of Nevada, this court does now sentence you, in addition to the $25 administrative assessment fee, $150 DNA fee, the $3 DNA administrative assessment fee, and $250 indigent defense fee, 19 to 48 months in the Nevada Department of Corrections.
Redden's family later revealed that he had struggled with multiple mental illnesses since childhood.
Well, he's basically born with mental illness. He was born with crack cocaine in his system, so his chance of life was taken at birth.
Redden is confronted with numerous felony charges for assaulting Judge Holthus. If found guilty, he could potentially face decades behind bars. Here's Denise Robertson, a suspect in burglary and theft cases in Mount Clemens, Michigan.
She's given up 4 children. She's ruined their lives just because she wants to be a scumbag and just have a free ride in life.
At 39 years old, Robertson had a lengthy history of habitual offenses, gathering 4 prior felonies on her record.
Okay, and how long is this going on?
For the last 5 years.
So, at any point in this 5 years, did you wake up and say, hey, I got a problem and
Yes,
I think I
last
better
year.
do something?
Last year, and I was walking down the street and I got hit by a car and put back on picking pills. And here I am today.
She faced a potential life sentence, but she accepted a plea deal to reduce the maximum sentence.
My client is asking for a referral for a drug court.
The county drug court serves as a prison diversion program designed to aid non-violent drug offenders. Veteran Judge Mary Krzyzanowski, often referred to as Scary Mary, raised questions about the involvement of drugs in a check fraud case.
The problem is she needs to take and learn how to write a check with a checking account that has her funds in it. How's drug court interplay with all this?
The defendant argued that drugs were the underlying cause of Robertson's issues. Robertson admitted uncertainty about her motives for drug use, but claimed that she could maintain stability when not under the influence.
The drugs were the root of her problems, Your Honor.
Why do you want to go to drug court? Other than trying to stay away from going to prison.
Because when I don't do drugs, I live okay.
So why do you do drugs?
I don't know.
Robertson also stated that a car accident led her back to using painkillers, worsening her struggle with drug dependency.
Last year, and I was walking down the street and I got hit by a car and put back on picking pills. And here I am today.
Judge Mary contended that the drug court was merely an excuse to avoid prison, an opinion echoed by a voice from the gallery.
Now all of a sudden, you're looking at going to prison and you want to go to drug court. Now, is this an excuse to stay out of prison?
Yes.
No. Well, somebody out there said yes.
It was Denise's brother, and his following actions stunned everyone in the courtroom.
I believe she needs to get the book thrown at her. Somehow she keeps escaping on this drug stuff all the time. That drugs are causing her to do this. She had an opportunity. She's given up 4 children. She's ruined their lives. Just because she wants to be a scumbag and just have a free ride in life.
He mentioned that Denise had participated in drug programs previously, but none had proven beneficial.
Do you think this drug court program's going to help her?
She's been through so many drug programs, it's pathetic. She's been in and out of rehab, left and right, and nothing ever helps.
Following brief deliberation, Judge Mary rejected the plea deal.
I'm not going to refer her to the drug court, now with the extensive record that she has, and certainly now with 8 new convictions on her record.
Denise Robertson received a sentence ranging from a year and 11 months to 14 years in prison for the 6 felony charges. In a subsequent interview, Judge Mary Krzyzanowski noted that it's not uncommon for defendants' family members to request harsher sentences frequently.
I would have parents in the background asking me, please, get them in, keep them in. We are afraid to let them out in society because they're going to hurt someone else. That was a daily event for me.
She emphasized that Denise Robertson's loss of custody of her 4 children significantly influenced her judgment in the case. Next up is Donna Dima Macho. Her story started on October 16, 1964 in East Windsor, a peaceful town in Mercer County. She was the beloved daughter of Betty Lou Thompson Macho and Ronald Wayne Macho. The family grew when Donna's sister, Julie Macho, was born in 1969. Their family dynamics changed when their mother, Betty, remarried a man named Garland, creating a new mixed family. Donna and Julie welcomed their new stepfather with open hearts. Donna lived life fully, with a passion for cooking and sewing shining through. Working as a legal secretary, she also aspired to model. To Julie, Donna was a beacon of light. Facing life's ups and downs, Donna never dimmed her bright spirit and continued to seize life with enthusiasm. However, she was unaware that her journey would take a dire turn, leaving a lasting impact on those who loved her. On February 25, 1984, what appeared to be an ordinary Saturday night unfolded for 14-year-old Julie Macho at her family's East Windsor home. Spotting her 19-year-old sister, Donna Dima Macho's car outside, she went down to the basement to join her. The sister spent the evening absorbed with horror movies until 2 a.m., after which Julie headed upstairs to sleep. Meanwhile, their mother, Betty, and stepfather, Garland, were already asleep, unaware of any unusual noises or disruptions from the basement. On the day following, February 26, 1984, Donna was scheduled to work at a law firm, so her absence during the day didn't immediately cause concern. But as dinner time came and went without any sign of Donna, her mother started to worry. Betty, concerned for her daughter's safety, decided to check the basement apartment. Upon entering, she was confronted with a scene of chaos in Donna's usually tidy and orderly space, signaling a struggle had occurred. The sight of blood-stained clothes intensified her alarm, leading her to quickly call the police. Upon the police's arrival, they thoroughly searched the entire basement, examining every corner for clues that could shed light on the mystery. Their thoroughness bore fruit when they stumbled upon faint fingerprints near a table by the bed. Recognizing the importance of this find, they collected the prints as evidence alongside the blood-stained clothing. Additionally, traces of bodily fluids found in the bedroom provided another vital clue, offering hope of uncovering the criminal's identity and locating Donna. However, amidst their search for answers, investigators made a chilling discovery. In March 1984, a breakthrough emerged when Donna Macho's abandoned and blood-stained car was discovered near a sewer plant about a mile from her home. Despite this critical lead, the mystery of her disappearance persisted. Investigators left no stone unturned, carefully examining numerous records and conducting exhaustive interviews with residents in Donna Macho's neighborhood, determined to uncover any clue that could reveal the truth. Eventually, their efforts led them to Nathaniel Harvey, a former worker at a nearby farm and East Windsor resident, who was detained due to suspicions surrounding a series of assaults and a murder in the Plainsboro area. However, despite pursuing various leads, including Harvey, none materialized at that time. The crucial piece of evidence, the bodily fluid discovered in Donna Macho's bedroom, underwent testing. However, the DNA testing technology available at the time lacked the precision of today's methods, making it challenging to pinpoint the source of the fluid. Despite this setback, investigators refused to close the case, holding on to hope that solid leads would emerge to solve Donna Macho's murder mystery one day. The tragedy took a heavy toll on Donna's stepfather, who tragically passed away just 6 months after her disappearance. His untimely death left the family struggling with their grief alone. The family spared no effort in their quest for justice. They hired private investigators and trackers and even sought help from psychics, using up all their resources in the process. Their firm hope in the belief that their loved one might still be alive. After exhausting all avenues in the search for the killer's identity, Julie and her mother made the tough choice to move to Texas in 1987 for a fresh start. However, their journey was filled with misfortune when their storage unit was burglarized, taking away precious memories and investigation files and adding to their pain. For 11 long years, there was no news. Then, on April 2nd, 1995, police received a call from a Boy Scout troop about a body discovered near Cranberry. The body was in a severely decomposed state, making identification challenging. However, when dental records were examined, authorities were astonished to realize they had found the crucial piece of the puzzle they had been searching for over the last decade. It was the body of Donna D. Macho, covered with a carpet in a wooded area near a cranberry farm, not far from where where her car had been recovered. Following an autopsy, initial findings suggested Donna had tragically suffered a gunshot wound to the head. However, as the investigation progressed, experts at the Middle of Salt Regional Medical Examiner's Office conducted a thorough examination of her remains. Through careful examination, they determined that while Donna had indeed sustained a head injury, it couldn't be definitively identified as a gunshot wound. Nonetheless, her cause of death was revised to evidence of homicidal violence, and her death remained classified as a homicide. Despite this crucial lead, the investigation gradually reached a standstill. In February 2022, Mercer County prosecutor Angelo Onofre took the significant step of reopening Donna Macho's case. Responsibility for the investigation was handed over to the Office of Public Integrity and Accountability Central Regional Cold Case Task Force, a specialized unit within the statewide cold case network established by the New Jersey Attorney General in 2019. As part of the reopened investigation, all relevant physical evidence, including DNA samples, was resubmitted to the state police's Central Regional Laboratory. This strategic move aimed to capitalize on advanced forensic techniques and technology in the pursuit of truth and justice. Modern DNA technology emerged as a critical tool in shedding new light on the case. Upon re-examination, the evidence, specifically the bodily fluid found in Donna Macho's bedroom, produced a significant breakthrough. The DNA profile extracted from the fluid conclusively matched that of Nathaniel Harvey. Surprisingly, his DNA stood out as the only genetic material present in the room that could not be accounted for. According to the Attorney General's office, Nathaniel Harvey, born in 1942 in East Windsor, had a troubled history from the outset. With a liking for trouble, he spent most of his life behind bars. His marital status in 1968 remains undisclosed. A resident of East Windsor, Harvey was notorious for his criminal activities, earning him a reputation as a daring intruder by the West Windsor police. Convicted of assault, he had a lengthy criminal record. Harvey's method involved sneaking into unlocked homes, where he would then hold young women hostage and commit violent acts. Law enforcement kept a close watch on him, considering him a prime suspect in their pursuit of justice. One notable case involved Irene Schnaps, a fellow resident of East Windsor. Between 1984 and 1985, local authorities were confronted with escalating concerns as a string of burglaries shook Plainsboro, West Windsor, and surrounding areas. Increasing their challenges was the unsolved murder of Irene Schnaps and the puzzling disappearance of Donna Macho from her family's East Windsor residence. Tragedy struck East Windsor again, 16 months following Donna Macho's disappearance, with the untimely death of Irene Schnaps. Irene, a 37-year-old woman who had recently endured the loss of her husband to cancer, met her demise overnight on Saturday, June 15, 1985, or in the early hours of the following day. Concerned for her well-being, one of Irene's colleagues at RCA Americom visited her apartment on Research Way the next morning, June 16, 1985, after she failed to report for work. With trembling hands, he alerted the police to the dark scene he had encountered. Inside the apartment, investigators were met with a heart-wrenching sight. Irene Schnaps endured a brutal assault, suffering over 15 vicious blows to her head, likely inflicted by an axe or hatchet. The room bore gruesome evidence of the tragedy, with Irene's lifeless body lying on cloth amidst the blood-soaked bedroom. Amidst the chilling scene, investigators discovered a crimson-stained footprint on a pillowcase, a vital clue that could potentially undo the mystery behind her tragic demise. Peter Stowasser, a 41-year-old man, came forward to share his account with investigators. As a friendly acquaintance of Irene Schnaps, he revealed that he may have been the last person to have seen her alive. Shortly after disclosing his connection to Irene Schnaps, Stowasser's life took an unexpected turn. Police began frequent visits to his doorstep, and on Saturday, June 17, 1985, Stowasser found himself escorted to the Middle Assault Prosecutor's office, where he endured an entire day under intense scrutiny, facing a wave of questions regarding Irene's tragic murder. He admitted to having feelings of attraction towards her, imagining a potential romantic connection. However, Irene, still mourning the loss of her husband, expressed the need for time and space before considering any new relationships. As Stowasser awaited the right moment to express his romantic feelings, he maintained a friendly connection with Irene, inviting her to his lively gatherings and hosting barbecues for neighbors and friends to ensure she didn't feel alone. However, their promising relationship was abruptly shattered when Irene met her tragic end, casting suspicion upon Stowasser as the primary suspect. Law enforcement also obtained a search warrant for Stowasser's residence. During the search, they discovered a quilt bearing suspicious-looking stains, possibly blood-related. Additionally, from his car, investigators seized a pair of white work gloves and a metal strip showing reddish spots. shots. Upon conducting tests on the quilt, it was revealed to contain human blood, accompanied by hairs that seemed to match those of the victim. Stowasser, however, maintained that the stains on the quilt originated from menstrual blood belonging to another woman he was involved with. As the investigation progressed, Stowasser underwent a lie detector test, which he did not pass. However, it's important to note that the results of such tests were not considered admissible in court. Additionally, it came to light that Stowasser had a history of serving time in jail for stalking a former girlfriend. However, the police eventually eliminated Stowasser as a primary suspect, largely due to a significant discrepancy in shoe sizes. Stowasser wore size 12 shoes, whereas a bloody footprint at the crime scene indicated a size 6 shoe. This unexpected mismatch in foot size shifted the focus of the investigation elsewhere. However, on October 28, 1985, a breakthrough in the case occurred. On that very day, Nathaniel Harvey went on a rampage through the southern part of West Windsor, ultimately leading to a significant turning point in the investigation. The initial call that reached the dispatch center reported an alarming incident in Dutch Neck Estates. It was a chilling account of a 13-year-old girl who had narrowly escaped an attempted abduction from her own home. The man covered her mouth in an attempt to take her away. However, her bravery prevailed as she managed to free herself and let out a piercing scream, alerting her parents to the danger. Startled by the commotion, he fled the scene. After escaping the home in Dutch Neck Estates, the man broke into another house, likely to evade the police. However, he was confronted by the homeowner. Upon turning on the light, the homeowner discovered Nathaniel Harvey standing there, wielding an axe and threatening him. Sensing the imminent danger, Harvey swiftly turned, shattering the glass door with a powerful swing of the axe, and then fled into the woods. With a chilling liking for axes, Harvey had developed a disturbing pattern of wielding these menacing tools to instill fear in his victims. Even when armed with a knife during one of the assaults he committed, he deceitfully claimed to possess an axe, further fueling the terror. It wasn't lost on the law enforcement officials that the murder weapon used in Irene Schnapp's killing was believed to be an axe. A short time later, investigators carefully examined the area, and their sharp eyes caught sight of Harvey traversing a soybean field before disappearing into the woods. The police quickly descended upon the scene, meeting at Harvey's location near the Princeton Arms Shopping Center. It was there, at the intersection of Old Trenton Road and Dorchester Drive, that a state trooper apprehended Harvey. During questioning, police learned of the extent of Harvey's one-man crime spree. He confessed to a string of burglaries that had struck fear into the community. Prior to the tragic murder of Irene, Harvey had abducted a young girl from East Windsor, forcefully taking her to an abandoned building nestled along Dutch Neck Road. He revealed that the victim, who was actually Donna Macho, innocently stepped out onto her deck for a cigarette, only to be seized by his relentless grip. After Harvey's arrest, the 13-year-old girl was called to identify if Harvey was the man who attacked her on October 28, 1985. Through her courageous testimony, she ultimately identified Harvey as her assailant. The authorities made a difficult decision not to pursue charges in the case due to the extremely brutal and perverse nature of the attack, considering the potential impact it would have on the victim's well-being. However, a breakthrough came when investigators finally received the search warrant and conducted a thorough search of Harvey's car in November 1985, which was located in the Princeton Arms apartment complex. Inside, they uncovered convincing evidence directly linking him to Irene Schnapp's murder. Alongside stolen items from various recent burglaries, a significant discovery was made: a Seiko watch that was positively identified as belonging to Irene and having been taken from her apartment at the time of the tragic murder. This crucial finding provided a solid connection between Harvey and the crime. In an intriguing twist, it was discovered that Harvey's wife resided in the same apartment complex as Irene. However, this information had to be kept confidential due to his wife's reliance on state assistance. Additionally, authorities asserted that Harvey initially admitted to the murder of Irene. During his questioning at the West Windsor Police Headquarters, where he was confronted with various matters, it was during this intense moment that Harvey requested to speak with his father, who offered him crucial advice to do the right thing. In a surprising turn of events, Harvey then made a confession regarding the Irene Schnapp's murder. Following Harvey's apprehension, the quilt that had been seized from Stowasser, the neighbor of Irene, who was also seen as a person of interest in the murder, was returned to him. Additionally, the glove and metal strip confiscated from his car underwent testing by prosecutors, revealing negative results for the presence of blood. In 1986, Harvey was convicted for the murder of Irene Schnapp's. However, 4 years later, in 1990, the state Supreme Court overturned his conviction, stating that his confession had been obtained without properly informing him of his Miranda rights. Harvey, who now maintained that his confession was forced, immediately retracted his statement. This turn of events raised concerns about the validity of his initial confession and ignited a debate about whether he should have been reminded of his Miranda rights after speaking with his father. The question of Harvey's confession became a point of contention as conflicting accounts emerged. According to Yvick Kleiner, Harvey's attorney, he denied confessing to the murder of Irene, contradicting the police's assertion that he had admitted to the crime, even though the confession was not recorded. The initial conviction was overturned based on the court's ruling that Harvey should have been reminded of his Miranda rights after requesting to speak to his father during questioning. In 1994, as the case went to a second trial, the focus shifted to the crucial evidence of blood found at the crime scene. The prosecution presented DNA evidence that revealed genetic traits matching both Harvey's blood sample and the stains on a box spring in Irene Schnaps's apartment. The DNA testing, although still in its early stages, indicated that Harvey could not be ruled out as a contributor. To further strengthen their case, prosecution experts utilized dot intensity analysis, a technique that estimated the consistency between the blood characteristics found at the scene and Harvey's DNA. They determined that such a match would occur in only 1 out of every 1,400 African American individuals. However, the defense experts countered, arguing that the ratio could potentially be as low as 1 in 50. In 1997, Harvey was convicted and received the death sentence. However, this verdict was upheld by a divided state Supreme Court, with some justices expressing differing views. Justice Alan B. Handler, in his opinion, carefully scrutinized the 64-page analysis of the DNA testing presented in the case. He voiced his doubts and expressed confidence that at some point in the future, either the state or federal courts would likely reverse the decision. In a surprising turn of events, according to an article in the New York Times on May 15, 2005, Kleiner, Harvey's attorney, pointed a finger of accusation at Peter Stowasser, a former neighbor of Irene. Stowasser was once considered a possible suspect by the police, but was later ruled out. Kleiner implicated Stowasser, who is now 61 years old and residing in Heightstown, in both the Irene Schnaps case and the murder of Donna Macho from East Windsor, who went missing in 1984 and whose body was discovered in 1995. These claims made by Kleiner gathered significant attention, making headlines in the New Jersey section of the Sunday New York Times. He also strongly disputed the accuracy of the blood DNA evidence presented during Harvey's second trial, claiming it to be flawed and contaminated. Additionally, he demanded further DNA testing on other pieces of evidence collected in the case, suggesting that they could have implicated Stowasser instead. Kleiner raised concerns about missing evidence, including the absence of hair from the quilt. He expressed suspicion regarding the classification of the retrieved hair, noting that it was initially labeled as Caucasian and later had the phrase, "and one negroid hair." Kleiner alleged that all the hair evidence, technicians' notes, and microfilm had mysteriously vanished, leading him to believe that the hair evidence never actually existed. Capsack, who continued to serve as a prosecutor in Middlesex County, expressed unwavering confidence in Harvey's conviction, firmly asserting that Stowasser played no part in the crime. According to Capsack, Stowasser was initially considered as a possible suspect in the case, but he was ultimately eliminated as a prime suspect. The decisive factor was the discovery of a size 6 bloody sneaker print on the victim's pillow, which contradicted Stowasser's size, 12 foot. Interestingly, the article failed to mention that Harvey himself wore a size 6 sneaker. However, he clarified that Stowasser's involvement was merely circumstantial and not indicative of his guilt. In April 2007, Judge John F. Malone of the State Superior Court made a decision that ruined Harvey's hopes for a new evidentiary hearing and dismissed his challenge. He overturned Harvey's 1994 conviction, originally a death sentence, due to inadequate legal assistance provided to him during the early 1990s. Despite this development, Harvey, 65 years old, would still serve a 70-year sentence for a separate charge. The death sentence he received in 1994 had been reduced to life in prison without parole when New Jersey abolished capital punishment in 2007. Prior to this abolition, Harvey had spent 20 years on death row. Although the state had not carried out an execution since 1963, late in November 2020, Harvey died in the State Wood State Prison in Bridgeton, closing all doors to any further investigation. Peter Stowasser was indeed considered a suspect in the murder of Donna Macho. Her remains were found in 1995, approximately a mile away from the location of the Irene Schnaps crime scene. It was claimed that Macho and Stowasser were both enrolled in classes at Mercer County College during the fall of 1983. It was pointed out that after Macho went missing, Stowasser did not attend the spring session classes that he had previously registered for. However, Stowasser maintains that although he attended Mercer County College, he had no knowledge of Macho or any connection to her. It's worth noting that Harvey was also connected to Donna Macho. The discovery of Donna's remains in a wooded area near the farm where Harvey had briefly been working raised suspicion. Additionally, she found her abandoned car near a sewer plant, conveniently within walking distance of Harvey's residence. These curious circumstances provoked authorities to focus their attention on Harvey, exploring the possibility of his involvement in the case. The announcement by New Jersey Attorney General Matthew J. Platkin in the last week of April 2023 marked a significant breakthrough in the case of Donna Macho's assault and murder. Platkin revealed that after investigators revisited the decades-old mystery with fresh eyes, they were able to finally identify the person responsible for the crime. Colonel Patrick Callahan, superintendent of the New Jersey State Police, reflected on the tragedy that unfolded 4 decades ago, emphasizing the lasting impact of Donna Macho's untimely death on her loved ones. Despite the passage of time, the memory of her life cut short by a predator still weighs heavily on their hearts. Callahan acknowledged the cruelty with which the criminal discarded Macho's remains, leaving them undisturbed for over a decade. However, he emphasized that the passage of time has not diminished the quest for justice. Even though the perpetrator met his fate behind bars for another heinous crime and passed away in 2020, the resolution of Macho's case remains significant. Callahan commended the relentless efforts of the Central Regional Cold Case Task Force and the dedicated state police forensic scientists, expressing hope that their work brings some comfort to Macho's grieving family after all these years. Fudo Charles is accused of 4 serious offenses, including racketeering, as the leader of the notorious Top 6 gang. Under his leadership, this gang escalated to become one of the most dangerous in the history of Palm Beach County, engaging in numerous robberies, being linked to 14 murders, and conducting over 150 shootings in recent years. This includes a tragic incident on Christmas Eve in 2006 at a crowded mall, resulting in the death of Berno Charlemagne, a member of a rival gang. Despite these accusations, Fudo claimed that Top 6 was merely a musical group. By 2007, the gang's violent actions intensified, with shootings happening several times a week. By 2008, Fudo and 11 other key members were detained and faced charges. Fudo agreed to work with the police, offering to testify against his former friends. This wasn't his first arrest. With numerous arrests already under his belt, Fudo knew how to navigate the legal system. However, the judge aimed to impose a sentence that would discourage others, rejecting 2 plea bargains and moving the case to trial. The courtroom atmosphere was tense, especially after the murder of witness Iguel Gefrard, a Top 6 gang member and suspect in several of the gang's crimes, who had agreed to testify against Fudo. This led the defense to seek a mistrial, which the judge denied. With heightened security, the trial proceeded under the watchful eyes of armed guards who protected the jurors. The jury quickly found Fudo guilty after deliberating for less than an hour. Fudo, who chose not to testify, remained expressionless upon hearing the verdict until the emotional appeals from his family for leniency, which visibly moved him.
64 years old. If Fudo goes to jail, I will never see him again.
Justice, please. Please, just get Fudo.
Fudo's mother appealed for mercy, mentioning that Fudo had been troubled ever since he suffered burns in his childhood. Despite her pleas, the prosecution pushed for the harshest punishment, pointing out Fudo's repeated offenses. The judge had a sentencing range from 6.5 to 66 years at her discretion. She chose nearly the maximum, sentencing him to 65 years without further comment. As a result, Fudo will be 95 years old before he has a chance at freedom again. Big thanks to our viewers for joining the courtroom journey with us. Your interest in the stories of justice is what keeps our channel alive.